Hello YouTube, welcome back to Bequest Mode. I hope you enjoyed the detour we took into Dare Mode last episode, but it's time we got back to solving puzzles, and oh boy, we've got a lot to talk about. First, I have to show you some footage that I left out of the Dare Mode video, because it was a whole big thing that would have really detracted from Dare Mode. And then we have to talk about the 2 hours I spent working my way through the myriad of puzzles found in A New Clue. And finally, we'll get around to logging into the Blackbridge Grotto admin terminal and changing our chest power finally. So buckle up, this episode is going to be exceptionally light on drafting and very heavy on puzzle solving. The first clip I have to show you from Dare Mode is from our failed day 8. Because of the note we found in the bucket in the corner of the servants' quarters a couple episodes ago, we've decided to give old rooms a more thorough investigation in case there are other things like that we've missed. So while looking around the attic, we literally accidentally just found our way into this little area behind the stairs. Back here is this very strange little note with a drawing of a bunch of crates. We take a screenshot of it, and while in our notes, notice that it matches this other note from down in the safe house that says delete it. We originally had thought that this was a drawing of the Blackbridge Grotto servers, or maybe the crates in the tunnel, but now have since put together that they look like drawings of the security monitors. So the second clip is from the day where we completed Dare Mode. It's hilarious to be doing this again in Dare Mode and not in the regular mode. So do these monitors line up with that screenshot? No. There's way too many of them. Oh. Yes. The middle section does. 3 on the bottom, 4. Yeah, it does. It lines up with the middle bit. Just you have to ignore the exterior points. Okay, so we have an A right here. And I guess an O right here, but a weird O, like a very thickly drawn circle of an O right here. And also, the A is written in red, and it says delete it. I'm curious if these rooms are the same every time. I do remember that the music room was always here on the end. And oh right, I have an upgrade disc. Alright, so all we have to go on is that is an A, and that is an O. So what rooms are they? The archives, right? That looks like the shelves. And the office. A for archives. O for office. What? Okay, what are you? Spare room, S. Is it the walk-in closet? S-W-A-N. Swan. Is this gonna be song? Storeroom, office, nursery, gallery, swan song. Hallway, security, showroom, HSS? Is that the hallway? Oh, no, it's gotta be the hallway. HSS. Herbert S. Sinclair. Swan Song HSS. Okay. I was expecting that to be something... I was expecting that to be a clue towards something else. Now, if you're yelling at your screen that it's obviously an alternate terminal password, you aren't alone. I'm right there with you as I watch this footage back, but it takes me another 2 minutes to put that together. Home security surveillance. Whoa! HSS, home security surveillance. Cool. There we go. Told you I'd figure it out eventually. It turns out there's a special network password that gets you into the home security surveillance system, which is essentially an archive of security footage. And it serves as a way to rewatch cutscenes that you've seen, for example, like the Alzara visions. But there's also footage from years before the start of the game, 1987, the year our mom went missing. So what about these? What the heck, dude? Oh, this is crazy. Can't tell who it is or what they're reading. I'm assuming that's our mom, and that looks like, Caleb White, I think? What year did I choose? 87, I think? So, are they starting to plan? Okay, 87 is when she went missing, and the jewel heist. So that could be them planning. February 9th. So that's before she even went missing. She doesn't go missing until February 22nd. Okay, this is the same day, like an hour later. I remember when I first discovered the security room, I went into all the other rooms and looked for the security cameras and was disappointed to not be able to see them. I think that was a little bit of a missed opportunity. It'd be cool if these security cameras were actually like in the corners of the rooms and stuff. What is he carrying? Oh. Oh, that's the vase with the microchip in it, right? Oh. Okay, this is really cool, but God, like everything else in this game, why is it so slow? Why is this so slow? That could have been a 4-second clip of him putting the freaking vase over there. I didn't need to see 16 frames of him moving 1 inch at a time, carrying the freaking vase. Okay, that's really cool. For the drama, yeah. Sure, for the drama. Okay. So, at 11 a.m., they're in the library. Our mom is looking at a book, and Caleb comes over and talks to her. Then about an hour later, Caleb brings the vase out to the entrance hall. And then the next day in the afternoon, in security, what happens? If I had to guess, it's gonna be someone coming in and like deleting footage or something? No. It's Mary getting on top of a chair. Wow, this is so cool, man. And holding up. I have no idea what that is. What was that? Let me compare to some. I'm gonna watch that again and screenshot her drawing, I think. And compare to some maps while I'm at it. Oh, you know what? That looks like a drawing of this part of the metro. I think that's from here. Yeah, I think that's what it is. Oh my god, that almost certainly is what it is. Yep, that's what it is. It goes from here up around, and then it's that little tail at the bottom. Yep. Ha. Cool. Okay. This is extremely cool. Alright, now 1988. No footage. Damn, rude. 1989. No footage. Is there gonna be no footage until... Yeah, I have no dates written down between 87 and 93. I think all this footage is gonna be unfound. Damn, I was looking forward to going through a bunch of this footage. It's really cool. Unfortunately, I don't think we got anything from that. That would have been a clue to the microchip in the urn, or vase. And we kind of know that if we somehow can, like, take the tracks, take a train, we can go to Station 13 or something. But I don't see that being possible. So yeah, we leave security mostly with more questions than answers as usual, but damn, it sure was cool. Don't worry though, we're gonna make use of this information when we get to a new clue later in the episode. But now that you're all caught up, let's fast forward to the present day and get to day 41 of Bequest mode. I've talked about this a little bit before, so I'll be brief, but I think sometimes the game's insistence on not breaking the fourth wall can occasionally be more cumbersome than it's worth. When I loaded back into Bequest, we didn't have the Darebird trophy, so I went back to Dare mode and started a new day, and the trophy was in the entrance hall. And when I picked it up, I got the Steam achievement, so I called it a day and got the cutscene for failing my third dare. Back in Bequest, I went to the Blackbridge Grotto to import my trophy, but hadn't noticed that because I failed the dare, I didn't actually get the trophy, so I had to start a new day in Dare mode, grab the trophy again, and draft 6 colors of rooms. Then I could import it in Bequest. This is so clunky, and it doesn't even really make sense from a canon perspective. Like, what, the Blackbridge Grotto is hooked up to the multiverse? Like, what is another save file? Rant over, I just needed to complain about that. Anyway, the first thing we do today is run out to the Blackbridge Grotto and try to log in. Like I said last episode, we took the wrong message away from that note in the servants' quarters and attempt to log in with Hurtley's temporary admin key. After spending some time rereading the note, we figured out we could use Randolph's admin key, but unfortunately I've somehow never actually written down his last name. He's still in my notes as Randolph M. So we decided we're going to have to go looking for a mailroom today and hope that he signs his letters with his first and last name. Now, onto the real meat of this episode. We draft a reading nook that comes with a magnifying glass, and so we take our free library off of the nook and we get to work looking over a new clue. I was not exaggerating when I say I spent 2 hours reading this book. It is so full of puzzles, it's truly brilliant. I mean, this thing is a work of art. As of right now, this book has been my favorite part of the game, and I'll be surprised if that title is usurped. So, real quick, here are some screenshots of every page so you can refamiliarize yourself if you'd like. There are 3 main puzzles in a new clue, with countless hints at other puzzles sprinkled throughout that I'm sure I haven't even found yet. But we're going to stick to the 3 main ones and do them in order of difficulty. The first puzzle starts when you notice these tiny little superscript numbers on page 7. I wrote down all the numbered words and then put them in order, and the result is all checked corner case rooms had a low-case clue found in the rooms. Bit clunky, but, it gets the message across. If you go back to page 6, there's a piece of paper titled Corner Cases, and if you use the magnifying glass on this note, you'll find patio, nook, office, and pantry all have a check mark next to them. Luckily, we were directly next to the nook, so we went back and looked around and eventually found the word beside, written in lowercase. Very cool, hidden in plain sight. With that, we start a new list so we can go to those 4 rooms and find the lowercase words. Like I said, I love this kind of puzzle that's hidden in plain sight because you could absolutely have found it on your own if you're very observant, but the majority of people won't notice it on their own, much like the security monitor puzzle from earlier. The second puzzle starts on the final page with this note that says, "The suspect is A key." When we first read this book, we had a cute theory about pressing the A key on a keyboard somewhere or on one of the pianos in the house, but this time we figured out A key is shorthand for admin key. There are 3 memos as well. The important one is the blue one that says the suspect is minor. The red handwritten memo is also very helpful, but understanding it depends on some information we don't have yet, so we'll revisit that later. Coming back to page 6, we can use our magnifying glass to look at a list of suspects and their age. Keeping in mind the blue memo from before, we write down only the names of individuals under 18, and we're left with a list of 4 potential admin keys. Now for the third puzzle. This one is a real doozy. It took us over an hour to put together all the pieces. It's essentially 2 different puzzles that you need to solve in tandem to get the solution. I noticed a lot of the individual pieces of this puzzle, but it took a long time to actually put them all together in the correct order and understand what it was saying. So, let's dive in. The first of the 2 puzzles starts when you notice there's some kind of street sign on every page. The second to last page of the book reads, "Have you exhausted your search? Have you seen all the signs?" So if you go down and you write all of the signs in order, they say Route 8, depart, keep left, 210 or fork, right turn, dead end, record each stop on the way. I couldn't figure out what to do with this information until I noticed this note with my magnifying glass that also says seen all the signs. The note is near an open copy of a new clue that's resting on top of a Metro map. So we go to our screenshots tab and found the Metro map, and sure enough there's a "You are here" indicator pointing to Station 8. It took some work, but if you follow the road signs, you end up taking this route. Does it look familiar? It forms the shape from the drawing our mom held up to the security camera from earlier. So crazy. If you write down the station numbers, or record each stop on the way, as you take that route, you end up with 8, 7, 3, 10, 1, 13. We can't do anything with this right now, but we'll come back to it. The second half of the puzzle starts on the same page. If you look closely at the annotated version of a new clue, there's this list of colors: red, green, violet, blue, and then some text next to it that we'll come back to. Back on page 12, there's a stack of books in the same order: red, green, violet, blue. The titles of these books are all unfamiliar to us and read Tender Cipher, Lunar Renamed, Uncle Ah, and Draft the Sixes. The phrase "Draft the Sixes" stuck out because you can also find it on this blackboard on page 13. It's an anagram of the fixed stars. So, assuming the other book titles are anagrams as well, when you unscramble them, you get The Red Prince, Realm and Rune, and a new clue. So now we have a list of 4 books, but what do we do with them? Well, if we come back to the open copy of a new clue, we see this list of pages and words with a series of letters next to each set. The same letters are found in the margin, separated by arrows: X, Y, Z, A, B, C. You may notice there are 6 letters, the same length as our list of station numbers from the first half of the puzzle. There's also an X next to Station 8 on the Metro map, and a C next to the text "Dead End" on this note. Dead End is the final stop along the Metro path, so we can substitute those numbers for those letters. Now we've solved both halves of the puzzle, and we can put it all together. The end result is this list: The Red Prince, page 10, word 8, Realm and Rune, page 13, word 10, a new clue, page 1, word 7, the fixed stars, page 3, word 8. And the final detail needed to really know where to go from here comes from this blue text next to the list that says, "Assume page count starts on title pages." So now we know we have to go find all 4 of those books and write down the specific word from the specific page and see what we get. So, did you follow all that? Hopefully you did. I did my best to condense 2 hours, like for real, 2 hours of puzzle solving into a digestible couple minute clip. It was difficult, but man, was it really fun. I feel like at last we have a new clue and we know what to do. So moving on from a new clue, I know we didn't really talk about drafting much today, but that's because the focus of today was really just on drafting all of the chess pieces, because we've been trying to do that for what feels like 15 episodes now. Um, so we still had a jackhammer and have dug up just a ridiculous number of ivory die. And in our last 4 rooms, we managed to pull out an office and then a study, getting the chess pieces done. And that's really the only important thing that happens as far as drafting today. So then we head out of the house and we run back to the Blackbridge Grotto. We run through our list of 4 potential keys, and the last one works. At the moment, I was extremely confused as to why this one worked, because it was the only one that didn't fit the pattern laid out in the servants' quarters note, since the last name is shorter than 4 letters. I'm going to give a slight spoiler for a future episode here, but grade 8 in the classrooms is language studies, and you learn some basic Eurasian. Looking back on the puzzle that gave us these admin keys, I can see that this note here is telling you to split the word major from this handwritten memo into 2 Eurasian words. Ma, meaning small, and jour, meaning name. This means the memo is actually telling us the key is the suspect with the short name. So that's how you're supposed to get to Li B. Anyway, we finally logged into the Blackbridge Grotto terminal. There's a lot of cool stuff in here. When you first log in, there are 4 options: network settings, user database, admin logs, and data files. Network settings has 2 options: terminal timeout, which allows you to increase the time taken for a terminal to disconnect from the network. It took me a long time to understand what this was like actually doing in game, but it's essentially a quality of life improvement that just removes the slow like dial-up connection sequence with all the beeping happening every time you log into the network. The second option allows you to activate email capabilities for the other 3 terminals, which is very exciting. So we get a bunch more emails. And we also see this ability to check offsite connection status. And it tells us that the communications outside of the local network are temporarily disabled. The user database is exactly what it sounds like. It lists Randolph and Kimberly, the 2 lab technicians, as having admin access, and Babbage, the house manager, as having personnel access, some expired keys for the groundskeepers, and then 3 delisted admin keys. Now, the admin logs. Oh boy, the admin logs. There's a lot to unpack here. They start with the first couple logs in 1986 as Randolph logs the process of getting the network up and running, as well as naming it Blackbridge. These logs are followed by some general maintenance logs you'd expect to see. Then a year later, in February of 1987, 3 new admin keys are added: Li B, the key we use to log in, Prov C, and Hon Yu. Admin log access is also restricted to those 3, so things are starting to get kind of nefarious. The 3 new admin keys talk about something they're planning for later in the year, and need to make sure they can discuss it privately here. Li B informs the others that it's been taken care of, and Randolph shouldn't notice anything out of the ordinary. Then things get a little darker. Good, no one else on the estate knows we're here, other than Mary, of course, who saw Li on Tuesday, but Hon Yu has a plan to take care of her. If it must be done, it must be done. Just see to it that the body is not discovered. The last thing we need is for the Red Guard to be snooping around here. What? Discovered. But this is an 87. Yeah, she's 217. She's not missing yet. 217. She goes missing on 222. 218. Okay. 221. She won't be found, rest assured. 221. Let's disperse for now. I'll meet you all at the safe house in Reddington in 4 days. Then, once the inquiry is over, we'll proceed with our plans for the museum. What? Yeah. They go radio silent for a few months before resuming operations in June, and Lee says they should have an opening on the first day of September, and Hone says they've secured transportation to Nuance for that day. Then Lee says Randolph is planning some scheduled maintenance soon, so they should scrub the logs and delist all the users. The remainder of the logs are just regularly scheduled maintenance up until Randolph disconnects offsite connections in preparation of our arrival. Like I said, a lot to unpack. I'm not entirely sure what to take away from all this. It doesn't really line up with everything else we know. The dates in the conversation coincide very closely with like our mother's disappearance. She went missing on February 22nd, the day after these logs discuss quote-unquote taking care of her. The logs discuss planning the museum heist and escaping to Nuance, and all the dates line up with the real museum heist that we read about in the archives. But we've also found things left behind by our mother down in the safe house, next to all of their plans for the museum heist. The way I see it, only one of these stories can be true, and one party is like setting it up to look like it was the other. I can't wait to learn more about this and figure out what's really going on here. They've fully hooked me in with this one. And then finally, the last option in the grotto is data files. And we talked about this a bit earlier, but this is how you import trophies and manage your save files in-game. At this point, we haven't gone back to get the Darebird trophy yet, so it doesn't show up here, but we come back and do all that later, as I already showed you. With the Blackbridge Grotto thoroughly explored, though, we head down to the precipice and finally manage to change our chess power again. We determined we aren't confident enough in using the pawn or the queen, and the bishop isn't really particularly strong anymore now that we've got a semi-decent allowance going. So we debate between the rook and the knight, and ultimately decide that axing the cost of our trophy room is more important than the power of the rook at the moment. So we go knight. And then before we end our day, we once again coat check the jackhammer. I didn't really show it today, but the jackhammer is just so good. We end today with 20 gems and 7 ivory die, and that's after having used plenty of each of them. And yeah, that's it for day 41. Hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope all of the puzzle solving was entertaining. I did my best to condense many hours of puzzle solving into, one watchable video. So that was kind of a lot of work. So if you enjoyed, feel free to, leave a like, a subscription, comment what you thought of these puzzles. They're so freaking cool. And yeah, that's it. I'll catch you next Tuesday. Videos Tuesdays and Thursdays at noon Eastern, and streams Wednesdays and occasionally Mondays at noon Eastern. Catch you next time. Later.